The heat is on straight off the bat in the final weekend of the European LCS.
We are pretty satisfied with the performance we did yesterday.
Now Kevin's on it, they've got super minions on it, there's all sorts of things on it, they're gonna get the bloody Nexus nevertheless.
We are just not that good as before. There is no chance to lose anymore.
Once we started forcing team fights, we just started to take control of the game.
Crescendo comes across, catches 3 members, Shockwave on towards 1, but look at Frog and he's cleaning house, gets himself a triple, gets himself a quadra, and absolutely massacres.
That preparation was really important for us.
He's going to pay the price as well. That will be an ace coming out from Gambit.
We felt that we increased our game really hard. We have been practicing a lot coming up this weekend, and we just played our game and didn't make mistakes.
100 to 0, easily done there by the Lemon Dogs.
I feel like we have to win every single game this week
Second player in the game just gets melted by Evil Geniuses.
to secure our spot in the top 6.
We got a good start here.
And this time SK Gaming surely will be picking up their 3rd win over Fnatic.
We had 2 games and we won both of it. We couldn't ask for more.
Hello everyone and welcome back to the European LCS for the final week of the season. I'm your host, Eefje Shock-supporter. Yesterday, the sprint for the postseason got off to a thrilling start with a day full of comebacks and upset. There was plenty of drama, but the standings are just as close as they've been all season. Today, we've got 6 more chances for teams to separate themselves from the pack and lock down a prime position for the playoffs. But before we get started, let's go over to Joe Miller and Trevor Quickshot Henry for a breakdown on everything EU LCS.
Thanks a lot, Shocks, and welcome back to the final week of the regular season. 6 matches we've got coming today, 6 more tomorrow, and then it's on to the playoffs already.
Yeah, and things are really beginning to fall into place. After yesterday's 8 games, the middle of the table is tighter than ever. 2 important things did happen, though. First of all, Lemon Dogs confirmed their playoff position, and MYM dropped into relegation.
Well, let's take a look then at the table and see where everybody stands. And despite how close it is, Lemon Dogs are on top by the widest margin that anybody has had all season long, and because of their head-to-head records, the worst they can now do is tie for first place. Evil Geniuses and Gambit both had perfect days and joined Fnatic and Alternate there in that 4-way tie. 4-way tie, let me say it a bit louder, for second place.
We were trying to figure out the head-to-heads, and basically it it almost exploded my head. I couldn't do it. Just behind them is SK Gaming and Ninjas in Pajamas. They are tied for 6th place. However, their head-to-head is in favor of SK Gaming, which means SK are in the playoffs and NIP are not. They do still have to play each other, though, one last time. Finally, Meet Your Makers are now mathematically eliminated from the playoffs, sitting in 8th position. They cannot go higher. Just as an interesting aside, every team yesterday either had a perfect day or a perfectly terrible day, 2-0 or 0-2.
Well, let's see what we've got on today's agenda then. We're going to be kicking off with SK Gaming. Perfect yesterday versus Meet Your Makers, who got nothing to lose at this stage, but also not really anything to gain. Playing for pride here. Then we'll move on to Evil Geniuses versus Gambit, a classic matchup in League of Legends history. And then Lemon Dogs take on Alternate.
The second half of the day will be followed by Ninjas in Pajamas versus Fnatic. Our 5th game of the day will be Gambit versus SK Gaming. And finally, Lemon Dogs take on the Evil Geniuses.
So now over to Shocks, who's got your Twitter question of today.
Thanks very much, Joe. It's time for you to let us know what you think. And today's question is, which LCS player has improved the most this split and why? You know, you can tweet us your answers at LOL Esports and, of course, use the hashtag LCS. We're going to read our 5 favorites later in the show, and if we pick one of yours, you'll be getting a Logitech G400S gaming mouse. And now you can always, of course, let us know what you think by voting on the outcome of all the week's games at lolesports.com. And while you're there, you can also check out results, standings, and much more. Now we're about to take our first break, but we'll be back before your Oracle's Elixir expires with today's first match. Meet Your Makers try to spoil SK Gaming's winning streak.
Now it's another day, and tomorrow will be again another day. We have to take step by step. We are not even looking if people are losing or winning. We know we can go to World, we know we can go to relegation. It's part of the game. I think everyone is ready. No matter what happened to us this week, we are ready to deal with it.
Welcome back to the LCS Summer Split, where we are just 12 all-important games away from the playoffs. As you can hear, the crowd is hyped. So let's go right over to Joe and Quick Shot for today's first match.
Thanks a lot, Shocks, and welcome back, ladies and gents. It's time to get the first match of the day underway. SK and Meet Your Makers are just about to hit the rift.
Yeah, SK are playing with their backs against the wall, though, and yesterday we did see them come through big with 2 convincing wins. Meet Your Makers might be out of the running for the playoffs, but they can still cause a lot of trouble for a team like SK, who are on the cusp of confirming their playoff position.
Well, you heard there from Hercubot. Yesterday was a day, and today is another day. So that's the thing that can catch these teams out, and it wouldn't surprise me to see the teams that have won all yesterday losing all today. That's just how close we are right now.
It wouldn't be the first time they split.
It wouldn't be the first time, that's for sure. So we're not quite ready yet to start things off. So let's have a look at the rosters of both teams, starting off with SK Gaming on the blue side there, of course, Kevin in the top lane, Hercubot in the jungle, Ocelot in the mid lane, Candy Panda and Nif the AD carry and support.
And for this matchup, over on the red side, it is, of course, Meet Your Makers. Cubon up in the top lane, Makate in the jungle, Charu in that mid lane with Makla and Libic as your AD carry and support.
Well, first of all, let's check out what you guys at home have been thinking. Who's going to win this game? How's it looking right now, Quick Shot?
76% of the people think SK are going to pick this one up. And I think based on yesterday's performances, that's a justified stat. They played out of their skins, arguably the best games we've seen out of SK all split long.
Well, you guys can still, of course, vote for all of the remaining games this weekend over at lolesports.com, so make sure you do that. So let's start off here by talking about Meet Your Makers. They really didn't look like they had a chance yesterday against Gambit, if we're honest. However, against Evil Genius, as their second game of the day, they had a really strong start.
So the problem for MYM was the fact that they fell off once they hit the mid-game against Evil Geniuses. It just looked like MYM hit like a mental block, and they didn't commit to pushing the inner towers. They got stuck in a mindset of trying to force Baron engagements, and they simply gave EG all the time they needed to bounce back. In order for MYM to pick up wins, and something that they should have been doing all split long, they really need to work on their decisiveness when it comes to pressing advantages. They tend to rest on their laurels a little too much.
So here's the thing then, Meet Your Makers are sitting squarely in that 8th place, and there's no chance right now of them getting any higher of a position, but that means that they're playing for pride here, and that could lead to some broken hearts for some of the other teams that have to face Meet Your Makers in these final 3 games. SK, on the other hand, they've already been breaking hearts, even more so when you look at Ocelot's face. That is a heartbreaker face if I've ever seen one. Going undefeated, of course, yesterday and taking down Alternate and Fnatic along the way.
Yeah, so SK, they did look fantastic at all stages yesterday. They showed, a clear focus on pushing lanes, a little bit of bromance going on there.
Yeah, that was weird.
Taking objectives, when they picked targets, they landed them. When they picked fights, they won fights. Basically, I really felt like they did absolutely everything right. And if we are extremely critical, we can pick out errors, find mistakes, find misabilities, and misplaced team fights, but you really have to look really hard to find them.
Yeah, yesterday, that man on your screen there, Hercubot, he played Lee Sin brilliantly. He's now got 4 out of 4 wins with a 100% record. Same goes for Ocelot's Karthus. And Candy Panda was just having an incredible day. He had bans being thrown at him left, right, and center, but still managed to carry with that Twitch and then the Ash in the second game.
Yeah, and after seeing how well SK played on an individual level, because every single lane did well, I'm going to be very interested to see how the LCS teams decide to ban against SK. Who do they feel was more impactful? Because we were hyping up every single one of them. We'll have to see who warrants more attention. If SK want to continue this run at the playoffs that they've started yesterday, they need to pick up a few more wins. So the key that you guys need to keep your eyes open is a minimum weekend score of 4 wins and 1 loss. That is the minimum required for SK to make it there, and they're already 2-0 towards that goal.
So we're going to get into Champion Select then and get this one on the road. So talk us through the bans and the picks here. What can we expect from both teams?
I wouldn't be surprised to see a Lee Sin actually being banned out here against SK Gaming. I think MYM may be a little afraid of that one. And potentially another Vayne. We've seen Vayne banned out against Candy Panda in both of yesterday's games. So that would be my 2 priorities if I were MYM.
Yeah, I think you could be right with that one. As you said, 100% record with that Lee Sin for Hercubot Champion, which back in the day we used to see him playing a lot, but no, not really brought it out until these last few games where he's done really well. Up till now, Kassadin, Ari, Fizz taken out there by SK Gaming. That's heavy to Charu.
That's 3 for 3 as far as Fizz is concerned. So we've seen Charu been target banned Fizz in all of the games that MYM's played, and it's not the only players. We've actually seen, I think, 5 bans on Fizz this weekend already, which is a trend that is very telling of what the solo queue practice was in these last 2 weeks. Everybody was playing and spamming Fizz, and some very quick lock-ins here from the teams.
Yeah, going to have Zed in there straight away. They left Elise open, which Kubon says, thank you very much, I'll take that one. He's most played champion so far in this summer split, and he's had some brilliant performances on it as well.
So I really like Kubon's Elise. I think he's very powerful on the champion, and he's had some very good games. But unfortunately, when he tends to have a good game in Elise, the rest of MYM don't tend to back it up, unfortunately. And it was a similar situation yesterday against Gambit. He had a pretty good 1v1 against Darien, even after being ganked. And unfortunately, the rest of the team just fell to pieces around them. Yeah. What we do see from SK with the Zed being locked in, and that was an insta-lock Zed, I should point out. That's going to be Ocelot on Zed. I like Ocelot Zed for the most part. He's had a few games that are questionable, but in general, he does tend to perform well. And it's a very different champion to yesterday. Yesterday's Karthus was very passive, wait for the team, very much team fight oriented with the likes of a Zyra support. And now they've changed that up a little.
Well, we saw Twitch locked in there as well for Makler here over with Meet Your Makers. And SK, for me, the way that they're locking in right now, they have a plan that has just fallen into place. I mean, Zed was in slot, Zyra, Zach, all 3, 5 seconds it's taken to lock in those 3 picks.
And more importantly than just the insta-lock, they're getting exactly what they wanted. There was no hesitation, there was no question, there was no, oh, we got to work around this. I think SK were very well prepared for this game, and I don't want to say they predicted MYM, but they were pretty well informed of what MYM were going to be going for. And right now, this is just AoE City. You know, Zed's going to be throwing himself in there. His death mark is, you know, single target, but his Shadow Slash and his E, it's AoE, his Q's AoE, Zyra's AoE, Zach's AoE. If they land them all on top of each other, it's scary. Maybe, and I'm going to go out on a limb here, maybe that's a Zach jungle and a Rumble top lane for SK. We'll have to see if they agree. Maybe not. We'll see.
Well, I think he could be on the right track with that one. I mean, Misfortune, we saw yesterday the bullet times coming out of Genja when he played. It was absolutely devastated. Whether they go for that or not, we'll see. Lee Sin currently being held over, and well, it's not really a surprise, is it? 100% win record is not something to sniff at. That's going to be locked in there. Candy Panda actually switched out and went for that Vayne, which, funnily enough, has been banned out against him in the last few games.
So the reason I like the transition, actually, because of the amount of mobility that's coming up from Elise and from Nocturne, who can just jump up over the bullet time, dive onto him, it made getting a full channel on bullet time very scary. In addition to the Dark Wind from Fiddle, in a big team fight that's not in a lane, it's just going to bounce and cancel the ultimate. And because Elise and Nocturne are going to be duelists, Vayne will have a much better time dealing with whoever jumps on them, as long as they come in single target. So I really like the swap over there for Candy Panda.
Well, let's see what MYM going to complement the team here. Something for Charu. Lissandra, a champion that he's no stranger to. Actually, we did see him playing it yesterday as well, so we'll see how he actually brings this one to the table. I mean, the thing is, Meet Your Makers have so much potential, and we've seen that. We saw that at the start of the season where they went 4-1 in the first Super Week, but it slipped away from them, and I wonder how they're going to react today, because they've literally got zero pressure on them anymore. This is basically practice now for them.
The thing that I like about the MYM composition and the possibility of that practice mode, no pressure type of gameplay is it's very, very, very aggressive champions. Every single one of the MYM champions says, I want to be in your face, I want to be diving at you, I want to be fighting all the time. And I mean, Fiddlesticks has got his Crowstorm Blink, you've got the Claw of Doom from Lissandra, you've got Paranoia, you've got Repel. Everybody's going to be jumping at you. What that means for SK is there's a lot of pressure on Nif now. He needs to lock them down those grass fingers, put good Stranglethorns down zone control to protect against the MYM coming at them. And if he's not in his game, that's going to be a scary team fight for SK to deal with.
One thing we have to say in regards to that, though, is that Nif, even when SK have lost, has been a very much on-form member of this SK lineup throughout this entire split. Throughout the entire year, I think we can say, as well as Spring Split as well. He was... his crescendos, of course, come to mind with the Spring Split. But this time around, he's done some great work. There's no doubt about that one, but you're right. If he misses just one grasping roots in one fight, that could actually change the game around. So we're going to be getting in here shortly. As we said, Meet Your Makers, they've got that 8th position. They can't get any higher up the table now. So this is going to be pressure off their shoulders. Have a little bit of fun, and as we said, maybe try and upset the apple cart for a few of the other teams.
Yeah, now that it becomes a weird place for MYM, because if they're really determined to break one team's heart, they can really do that because of how close this table is right now. There's still a couple of games left for them to play. The one thing that's going to be very key to look for in this matchup is how well Libic interacts with Nif. Libic, probably the most prolific Zyra player in EU, probably played him more than anybody else that I can think of. And now all of a sudden, Nif has been spamming Zyra in all of these LCS games. So Libic's going to be well aware of the nuances and the power that a Zyra can offer. And we'll see whether or not he can interact with Nif in such a way to make his life more difficult.
Yeah, I mean, Libic's up in double figures for the amount of times that he's played Zyra, so, and I'm pretty sure there's no one in the EU LCS that's quite at that level now. So, let's have a look at level 1 here. I mean, you've got the likes of Nif, obviously, who can go in there for that grasping route. On the other side, not masses of CC for Meet Your Makers, but there is still a little bit there in terms of the cocoon and what have you.
MYM are going to do their sort of customary invade. They do tend to stay stacked up in a lot of their games, moving into their opponent's jungle, getting some deep wards. And ironically, it's something SK like to do on the blue buff as well. We've seen throughout the summer split, the sort of SK 1 minute 20 or so invade onto blue, get the ward down. It's something that we see all the time. Yesterday, it was just a trade. There was no level 1 action, bar for trading buffs. And we may have a similar start here.
So, Meet Your Makers wait down there. There's a few pings going down. In fact, pings right on top of SK's ward. So Meet Your Makers here know exactly what's going on. They know where SK's vision is. And they might not know it themselves, but they've got both wards spotted out. Nif starts to walk in there. Actually spotted Libic coming through. They're going to have vision now thanks to that ward put down in the brush. So they know that Meet Your Makers are going to be hanging around here somewhere. And there is the back away from Candy Panda. Meet Your Makers calling themselves back towards the tri-bush, and that will possibly be the end of that one.
They did manage to get the vision down, so that's a very important thing to note in this particular setup, allowing themselves to be well aware of when Hercubot's going to be moving around the jungle. The thing that's key here is Hercubot's gone for a Doran's Blade start, so his sustain in the jungle is a lot more risky than it would be with the Machete and 5 pots. So we'll see how effectively and efficiently he can stay in the jungle camps.
Well, he's going to have a big chunk of help here from both Zyra and Vayne. At least did start to come down. Makata did go in there and steal that red buff away, so it's highly likely that we're going to see a simple trade-off for the buffs here as Hercubot takes the red from the top side, going to head straight to his blue.
Yeah, it's pretty much the standard that we see from junglers nowadays. Even with the 3.10 changes to the jungle camps coming up at 2.5 and discouraging some of the invades, it's just traditional. You get the vision down. You're not going to mess up your lanes by moving your duos or your solos in place. Candy Panda is going to dive onto Cubon. He's taking a lot of damage.
Yeah, already having to back away from this one. And SK want to put the pressure on in this 2v1 lane. See what they can do from that one. Hercubot has now got his blue buff, and again, Cubon taking lots and lots of damage there, having to burn through pretty much all those spots. Obviously, he did start Crystalline Flask here, so he's going to have a cheaper way to sustain in that lane.
Yeah, going to turn himself into a bit of a heavy drinker, I think is the term, just chugging that flask as many times as possible. And you know, when you're dealing with the Zyra support, the range that Zyra offers makes your life very, very difficult. Luckily for Cubon, when the minions do get to his tower, he can switch that spider form, pop on that skittering frenzy and get a little bit of sustain back. But it's very risky because it's going to push the wave back even quicker. So Cubon's going to be careful with how he manages the use of that ability.
Well, right now, both 2v1 lanes are having a little bit of trouble for the solo lanes, of course. As, again, Nif just having full brush control there. We'll just throw out those grasping roots wherever he can. Try and lock him up. See what they can do from there. This mid lane, no real surprises. Charu having the CS lead up until now, but Ocelot quite happy now as everything comes back onto his turret. He'll be getting a bit more farm back.
So the one thing that I do want to keep my eyes open is the junglers in this next sort of minute or so. In the few games that we had the slightly extended laning phases like this, we had the sort of 4 minute 20 to 4 minute 30 3v1 tower dives in a couple of the games. And you can notice that with the stronger towers, we're not seeing as much pressure on last hitting the tower. So it's just extending this laning phase a little bit. Mokate is doing the best he can to at least dissuade Candy Panda and Nif, but he's kind of half in, half out. He hasn't committed to either.
Yeah, they actually having that ward in there as we're going to see flashes coming down. And, well, that was a little bit miscalculated on the MYM side of things. Cubon flashing, igniting in there. Nif did just flash away from that one. And now Hercubot here coming in on towards Nocturne. He's going to get feared away, but the Q will land and he's going to try and push through. Can he actually get in there for the buff? There is Nif over the wall, not quite able to get the damage in. But RSK going to push through. The minions aren't coming, and this three-man team may just go for the dive. There is Candy Panda. First blood actually coming down to Nif there, and now Cubon is burning away underneath the turret. Grasping Roots not quite landing. He's so very low, but SK struggling to get in. But here comes Ocelot. Recall already put down by Cubon. Q's going to come out, and that will secure the kill for Hercubot. And again, perfect execution, just like yesterday.
2-0 start. The first blood did go to Nif Zyra, so not the end of the world, but managing to give Hercubot another kill and assist. The thing that I have to question, why did Charu not teleport? That was a 2v3. If Charu had been able to join that lane, maybe that could have dissuaded them. Now they're going to lose the tower as well. A brilliant start for SK Gaming.
Funny, when we were just talking about these 3 men pushes onto the turret. Makata was there, so we figured it probably not going to work out, and that's not really how it started. Hercubot took a long time to get in there, then Ocelot joined in because they were scared of that turret damage, but again, perfectly communicated in SK.
And I want to go out on a limb here, and yes, Makata had shown his face in the lane a little bit, but it was quite clear Hercubot wanted to go to the top lane. It may have been because of Makata's presence, or it may have been because he wanted that 3v1 tower dive. Either way, it's something that we're seeing with the increased armor on these turrets, that teams are going back to the ganking champion strat that we seen before the fast tower push. Right now, MYM with a bit of a numbers advantage, and of course Fiddlesticks Drain. They're going to get probably this Dragon without real much pressure from SK Gaming.
Big's taking a massive damage there from Dragon, but they will be able to take it away, and that's a great pickup for Meteor Maker. That's going to, nullify a little bit of that advantage that SK have brought in there, but it now means that that duo lane from SK has gone down to the bottom side of the map, and they're going to instantly put pressure on.
Yeah, for the next sort of minute and a half or so, Nif also has the blue buff up and available on that Zyra. So he's going to make the dual lane of Makla and Libic very difficult. You can see that SK have already lane swapped. Without there being a tower in the top lane, they've thrown down their AD carry and support to the bottom to try and pressure out that tower.
So a pink ward put down there, right in the middle by Charu. He doesn't want Ocelot moving around, and well, you have to wonder, from that last fight, Ocelot had walked from the middle lane right up to the top lane. How did that happen? He had teleport as well, which is the strange thing about it, that he didn't actually get onto a ward and just teleport up there, but saving that, and it all worked out perfectly for him. Obviously, kill going over to Hercubot and to Nif, as Lyric again getting stunned up thanks to the condemn underneath his own tower here. We should look at the CS because actually Makla does have a lead right now over Candy Panda, simply because of the time that they spent there around that turret, which takes a focus away from the minions. Mid lane, Ocelot has the advantage despite his roam into that top lane. He's got more CS. When it comes to the 1v2s, the solo laners in that circumstance, it's actually Kevin that has the lead.
Yeah, Kevin's had a little bit less focus on him, of course, Cubon being ganked and taking all of that damage from Nif and Candy Panda, like at that level 1, level 2 exchange. Part of the reason Candy's a couple CS behind is basically because he spent more time right-clicking on Cubon. You can see that with that little advantage, he's got that Vamp Scepter, double Dorans, no potions to his name. Hercubot sniffing around. He smells some blood. He's picked himself up a second Doran's Blade, so keep that in mind, that very early aggression coming out of Hercubot's Lee Sin.
Well, blue buff at least here going to be secured for Meet Your Makers. Charu going to be the one to take that one away. Hercubot is still waiting down here on the tower in this bottom lane. They're going to wait for that grasping roots to come in. Makler having to flash, having to barrier already as well. Will he be able to escape this one? Hercubot actually going to get exhausted as Charu comes down. Will ulti in on towards Hercubot. He's finished off by Makler, and this is looking good as Ocelot has teleported in as well. Charu, the focus of that one, but the Deathmark not doing enough damage, and Ocelot now in trouble, but he dives in, manages to take down Charu, will be finished off by Makler, and there's the kill onto Makata at the backside as well. Nif gonna get silenced up. Does Makler have enough damage here under the turret? They're gonna go for it. Libik going super low. Makler actually tanking it up right now as well. The poison is ticking away. He's got a health bot running. This is gonna be really close, but he survives.
So they trade 2 for 2 at the end of the day. Makate dove all the way past the front line of MYM, and because Ocelot was pulling away Makler and Libik, it meant that they ended trading Makate for Ocelot in that particular fight. The one thing that was very key to note is how impactful Libik's fears were. At the beginning of the fight, he threw Candy Panda away. He dealt no damage. When Ocelot landed with the Deathmark, he feared him away and mitigated some of the damage. And Libik can only do that to one target once we get to more team fights. So whoever he fears is very, very important. We'll see how quick he is if he could get Hercubot.
Not like cute. Not quite landing there from Hercubot, just going off towards the side, and that's what they were counting on. That's why Candy Panda had hung around so long from that one, even with that low HP that he was actually sitting on. Kevin has pushed his top lane out once again, which is going to give Kubon a little bit more of a relaxing time here to farm pretty much underneath his own turret. Won't have too much danger of actually being caught out on that front. Well, SK, they're going to just push straight back here, and with that Vamp Scepter in there for Candy Panda, he doesn't have to go home, even going to 10% HP that he was after that fight.
Yeah, not only the Vamp Scepter, but the double Dorans and a little bit of lifesteal quintessences, that's playing into his favor. So he's sitting on 14% lifesteal, going to be able to sustain himself up relatively well in lane. You can see he's just decided to back off, probably going to pick himself up that Bilgewater Cutlass. And I was looking at the items, and the more I think about Hercubot's double Dorans, the gold that would have been spent on the likes of a Runic Bulwark can now be spent on earlier offensive items if you have a jungler that benefits that. For example, Mokate's picked up Berserker Greaves as his first, dare I say, big item, as his first intermediate item on Jungle Nocturne because of how impactful those Umbra Blades passive is in the jungle. So I think we're going to start seeing that trending more and more in our junglers as they've been freed up a couple hundred gold.
Yeah, changing things up here a little bit. What we like to see as well, the direct innovation straight after a patch coming out there. Always nice to see. Looking at his middle lane, Ocelot still holding a gold lead, got a kill advantage here as well. Charu, of course, got 2 assists down on that bottom side. He's gone triple Doran's ring here for this one, so feeling a little bit of pressure maybe.
Yeah, and also Lissandra does have very high mana costs. It doesn't look like he's wanted to pick up something like a Tia or a Chalice right now, so he may opt to go triple Dorans into the likes of Azonia's Hourglass to deal with the Vayne and the Zed threat as much as possible. We'll see what he does decide is more important right now.
Yeah, that's the dangerous thing in there as well, that Charu technically can ulti himself for that Deathmark damage at the end, so even without the Zonias, he's got that inbuilt ability almost to really work around that one, but we'll have to see. We saw in that last team fight there, things were very, very close. And both champions, or both players in that mid lane opting to use their teleports to get in. And it's funny that I was talking about Ocelot's teleport not being used to go to top that time, because if he'd have used it to go top, he wouldn't have had it for that last fight, and that would have gone a lot worse for SK than it did.
Yeah, definitely, because it was Ocelot that pulled members of MYM away, and it all started with the Hercubot gank. Hercubot's the one that threw himself in there, and it followed up with teleports. There's no teleport available, as Hercubot's going to try and rinse and repeat, but luckily the Scarecrow and the Rat were able to walk away.
Yeah, spotted him coming straight around the corner there. That ward up on the side brush, if not able to get a grasping root onto anyone. And actually the flash is down for both players on this bottom lane on Meet Your Maker's side there as well. So there is that opportunity to get in if they're able to clear out the vision. But look at this, SK, knowing that Dragon has now come up, have started to make a move for it.
So they had the timer on it previously when MYM had secured the Dragon. They got vision, they knew when it went down, and now they're trying to position themselves to challenge for it. But there is a teleport up in Charu. He's just become available in 1 second time, and that means that he can join the party even if he's pushing a lane. Once Kevin gets here from the jungle, that's when I think SK may consider starting.
So let's see about that one then. A few pink walls put down there. Ocelot just clearing out their vision wherever he can. Pretty much 10 men down on this bottom side now. This Dragon going to be a big point of contention for both of these teams. But right now, Ocelot, along with Kevin, are up in that middle lane. Charo going to get his blue buff now. They want to try and push this wave out so that they can keep Meteor Makers occupied long enough in that mid lane for them to start off doing Dragon.
So this benefits SK Gaming because they have 2 lanes that they can push for towers, and they know they've got vision control thanks to that pink ward. So Hercubot, with that little Emblem of Valor, as well as double Dorans, he's actually trying to solo off Dragon. You'll see a couple members of SK peeling away from the lanes and trying to help him out. The question is, can MYM react quickly enough? Because they're going to be feeling something up.
Yeah, they must be wondering right now where this is actually going. Dragon's going very, very low here, smacked it away by Hercubot. But are SK going to be able to escape? It is a Lee Sin after all. Sniff going to get feared up here. He's inside of the ultimate. There's the exhaust on towards Candy Panda. Stranglethorn's keeping him alive, and Libic's going to go down there to Candy Panda. But look at the damage out of Kubon. He's going to rappel up. There is Ocelot now joining the fight as well. Deathmark is on Makler. He's going to get popped as they focus around on towards Kubon. Kevin will pick that one up. And in the end, a 3 for 2, but it might not be over just now. The slow out of Charo pretty much says differently and stops SK chasing.
So 3 for 2. At the end of the day, SK picked up the Dragon, and they have the ability to push down towers. If they can get a tower, significant win for SK. The one thing that is very scary to note is during the course of that fight, Makate and Charu made it all the way through everything to catch Candy Panda and focused him down so quickly. That is not a safe vein and will not be a safe vein for quite a while until he picks up the likes of a GA or some sort of defensive item.
Yeah, that's the problem. They've not got the strongest of teams to really protect him in there. Of course, you've got Hercubot who can kick away, but the others are going to be Kevin and Nif CC, basically, is what they've got to land in for that one. And Ocelot just putting out pure damage to stop anyone getting into that backline. As they push through again, that bottom turret actually down on half HP, and I think the middle outer turret is in a similar position here as well for Meteor Makers. Yeah, there we see it, half HP on that one as well. So they're in a strong position now to turn 1 turret into 3 in a very short space of time.
And you can see by Kevin's positioning here, Let's Bounce is not available. He's just going to jump in. They've caught Libic.
Gone on towards Libic. He's going to get condemned against the wall. One more hit from Candy Panda. Actually doesn't manage it, and he doesn't die. And now with Charu coming in, they're going to lock down Candy Panda. Nif's taking a lot of damage. Charu finished off there in the end by Nif once again on that Zyra. Are they going to keep going through here underneath the tower? I don't think so. And Makler actually using that expunge will force them all to back away. A 1-for-1 again.
Insta teleports from both of the mid laners, and Charu unfortunately just got there and it's surrounded by members of SK while Libic was forced back. So they end up, trading again, but it's trades that are in favor of SK Gaming. With the exception of Cubon getting some time to farm up the top lane and now put a little bit of damage down, everything's really been going in favor of SK Gaming, albeit they are losing kills while doing so.
Yeah, losing a few in there, but gold is in their favor, and we'll see how that continues to go. And as I'm talking about that, Meteor Makers picking up their first turret of the game. That will, of course, claw them back a little bit into this one. Less than 2,000 gold is the lead that SK are currently holding, so there's definitely room for that to be changing here pretty quickly.
Yeah, at this point in time, with the Dragon down and the fact that SK need to commit more than just 2 or 3 people to a tower to take it down, I think we may see a slowdown in the game for the next couple of minutes until maybe the next Dragon is getting close to spawning. Basically, unless SK groups up as a 4 or 5-man team to force a tower down, MYM should be able to clear the waves. They've got decent wave clear, and they should be able to defend these middle and bottom lane towers.
I see already that Lockett is in position now for Hercubot. He's managed to get himself that finish. Spirit Visage as well for Kevin. On the other side, for Kubon's Elise Giant's Belt and the Chain Vest going in there. So looking like he's going to play that tankier Elise build from this.
Yeah, it's definitely starting off that way as Paranoia gets thrown down in the mid lane. They've caught Ocelot.
Yeah, they've caught Ocelot completely with this one. He's put the death mark on Charu, but that's probably not going to get him away from this, or will it? Hercubot actually coming in from this. Ocelot going to go away. There is the kick on towards Makata, and now Niffa's joining in the party as well. Hercubot gets locked up by Charu. Well, that's maybe going to cause Charu's death. The claw comes out. He will escape for now, but Kevin is chasing chasing. That Ignite is a sure kill. And a red buff given over. Now Hercubot walks into the middle of the pack. Makler coming in with a pray and spray, doing tons of damage, but the poison is not going to be enough to take him down to death.
Hercubot landed every single Sonic Wave that he fired out during the course of that chase, managed to peel absolutely everybody off MYM, and he did use his Dragon Rage kick later in the fight, but at the end of the day, Ocelot gets away cleanly, he gets away safely, and SK pick up yet another kill.
Yeah, really well done there. I mean, Zed's a hard one to lock down anyway, but I thought that they'd managed to lock him in there from that. Really well done to get away. Help of Hercubot certainly coming in handy. And that, all of a sudden, puts the gold back towards 3,000 here in favor of SK Gaming. If you look at the kills as well, distributed evenly across the board. You might say unevenly if you look at Nif's score. Those two maybe better on Candy Panda or really anywhere else on the team, but that's giving him a gold advantage as well of 1,100 gold, and that's going to work out in SK's favor overall.
The thing that I'm very interested to see how Nif itemizes, he's got his Philo Stone, he's got his Ruby Sightstone, there's already a Locket of the Iron Solari on the team, so do they want to go for a second shield to try and, 1.5 times shield the burst from Lissandra, the burst from Crowstorm and Spray and Pray? Or does he maybe want to itemize for some damage? Because, yes, Zac will offer some ability power damage, but there's not a lot of magic damage coming from the side of SK. As you can see, Kevin doing the best he can to defend this tower and doing a pretty good job of it.
I'm wondering if he might end up headed up towards the likes of Mikhail's Crucible as well there to keep that vein safe. We've already seen Candy Panda's had troubles, and removing that CC from Candy Panda in the middle of a fight could be the difference between victory and a loss.
I'm trying to think back. It may have even been SK yesterday who had the Quicksilver Sash on Candy Panda's Twitch. And with Zyro down in the bottom lane, there goes Crowstorm.
Yeah, there's a big Crowstorm. Makler actually getting caught up. Libic gonna get a lot of hammer from that one as well. They can't quite get it, and here comes Charu. Well, decided not to follow things through, and you see how one side of that fight was there. SK full HP right now. Libic blinking red. Makler lost half of his health as well, but now in Nocturne coming in, they may try and hold on to the turret. 3 versus 4 teleport is not available for Ocelot yet, and here comes Charu. Yeah, Charu actually manages to lock 2 of them up. He's going to use the ultimate on himself here, and now Nif is going to get feared down by Makata. That will send him southwards, and that's going to be a kill. Charu gets that one. Hercubot will mop up there as well, but Candy Panda going to get exhausted. He's going head-to-head with Makler, but with that exhaust on, nothing he can do, and that will be a 3-for-1 for Meet Your Makers. A brilliant fight for Meet Your Makers. They traded only Charu, and he actually got stunned into the wall by Candy Panda. That could have been a cleaner fight for them if he managed to get his slow a little bit earlier down. And because Ocelot's teleport was not available, he couldn't join the party to help out. He couldn't impact that fight. And thanks to those kills, Meet Your Makers now managed to get their hands on Dragon for the second time this game. Yeah, it was pretty incredible because it was the exact moment that Charu ulted himself right on top of them that he was knocked back from that. That could have been, well, I can't really in trouble, say either worse, because Kevin right now is in trouble. He's going to try and slingshot away, and by try, I mean he is going to slingshot away straight towards Ocelot, and will just walk away in typical Zac fashion with that swag walk on. With the waddle, I may have underestimated the power of the slingshot. I thought maybe Libic could have got in there, silenced him, feared him, but it was not to be. He managed to get away very cleanly, in fact, and SK still have a 2-to-1 tower lead. Now they've stacked up the numbers we were talking about, 4 in the mid lane, and we'll see if they want to try and focus down this tower to pick up the 3rd and final outer tower. That's going to be very easy for them. Yeah, not much focus required, just walk in there, a couple of auto attacks from Ocelot and Hercubot, and that one is a goner. So let's go back to the gold here, because that's once again shrunk down to 2.7 thousand gold. Really not a massive difference, and we've seen that Meet Your Makers are in a strong point to be picking up kills here. One interesting thing to note as well is that Ocelot, in terms of CS, has really built quite a heavy lead over Charu. Yeah, he's doing very, very well with his farming as Zed, and that stems down from his early game advantage that he was able to keep Charu a little bit back from the CS line. Charu's playing very defensively against the energy-based champion, and it's just snowballed from there. You know, you've seen Ocelot picking up the Wraith camps a couple times and doing very, very well in keeping that up. The one thing that I do want to highlight as far as the items is concerned, we talked about how squishy Candy Panda is and how easy it is for basically the whole MYM team to get to him. He's building himself a Guardian Angel as his 2nd item. Negatron Cloak and Chain Vest already picked up. Yeah, that's pretty insane stuff. Needs that in there for that. And on the other side, I remember talking about the AD carries, the difference there that, you know, it was always been in this game a farm lead for Makler. But the point is right now, since those last 2 fights, he's now sat at 4-1-2 with that Twitch Blade of the Ruin King in there. He's got all the workings of that Phantom Dancer as well. He's going to become ridiculously strong. And while Candy Pan has gone on the defensive side, he's going to go offensive. As Ocelot here is waiting. Is he going to dive on Charu?
So Ocelot wants to start, split pushing, getting control of lanes, but look at Makate's positioning. Paranoia is available, and he's staying at absolute max rank. That's a level 2 Paranoia. This is going to be mid laner versus mid laner plus jungler, and whoever gets bursted down first is going to lose the fight. There goes Ocelot.
There goes Ocelot going in. He gets ulted down. The death mark going to proc here. He's going very, very low, and there is the kill. It's Hercubot that picks that one up, and I'm not sure they're going to be able to kill Ocelot off here. No, they won't. It's a double kill coming down from Hercubot. A little bit messy from both sides. Ocelot goes in, Wakata sees it and comes down, and then all of a sudden Hercubot's there out of the jungle as well.
Two very important things. The fear coming down from Paranoia was enough to disable Ocelot for a brief moment of time, or from the Fear on Nocturne, but what followed up after that was the lifesteal on Blade of the Ruin King. It allowed him to sustain through any of the damage that Makata was putting down, and Makata's building himself a Blade of the Ruin King himself. Bilgewater Cutlass picked up already on a jungle Nocturne. That's not something we've seen in a very long time.
Yeah, certainly isn't. And it makes sense for him as well, get it in there, get that attack speed off, and it's going to be doing more damage from that. Whether they'll, suffer in terms of tankiness, we'll have to see. But in the same respect, as I mentioned earlier, Kubon picking up the Sunfire Cape as his first big item, so he's going to be a bit tankier as well to compensate.
Yeah, they need to build lots of armor. This is MYM I'm talking about, because SK Gaming is such a physical, heavy damage team. You've got Lee Sin, Zed, and Vayne, which are all predominantly physical damage, and as long as they can start stacking themselves towards Frozen Hearts and towards Arandian's Omen a little bit later, it's going to help prolong the team fights. Charu on the other side, he's got a mixture of items. He's got that Fiendish Codex, the Blasting Wand, as well as the Seeker's Arm Guard, and he's only now working towards an Hourglass. I feel like he got a little disjointed in his build, and he's a bit delayed in getting towards the Hourglass completion.
As Ocelot once again waiting here in the Tribush. Actually got a pink ward down and wants to stop Libic getting in there to clear that one out. Won't be successful on that front though. And will have to back away. But it's obvious that Ocelot has started to try and get that split push movement going down. They picked up those that double kill earlier on in this bottom lane. But Makler and Libic are being pretty determined to stick on this bottom side.
So in terms of who's going to have to try to deal with Ocelot for MYM, you can probably leave Makler, once he gets his Phantom Dancer, to try and duel Ocelot. If Makler can jump in there and get a lot of damage down quickly, use the barrier to survive Deathmark, he may be able to actually win a fight out against Ocelot. Until the point that Cubon is able to survive the damage, then Cubon's going to take over, and I think Cubon will be the responsible party for trying to control that 1v1 push. And it's what Ocelot does every time he plays Zed, and he is split pushing.
And then we see Libic is playing human ward right now in the middle of that jungle. Actually going to be spotted here, and they're going to go for him. There's a condemn across the wall. There is a death mark down. Libic's not going to survive this one. He is a dead man, as we see the spray and pray coming through the wall there from Makler as well. Not got enough damage to finish off Ocelot.
Really good, conscientious play from SK Gaming, knowing the exact positioning of their enemies, landing the condemn and just following it up cleanly. The question is, what do they want to push now that they've got this brief, momentary advantage? And it does look like it's the split push game they want to play.
Yeah, it certainly does look that way. They've got a lot of vision down as well here on that bottom side of the Meet Your Makers jungle. So that's not safe anymore. We saw Libic. He had an Oracle on and he was just stood there in that brush, and they can't really do a lot more than that right now because they're going to get cleared out pretty quickly. Is Makler going to come in here towards Ocelot, but Hercubot was waiting there off to the side and he's forced a very early barrier there out of the rack.
Charu teleported down though.
He did come in there. There's the ultimate. There comes Makata as well, and that's going to be a kill picked up for Makler. Will he be able to finish off here and get towards Hercubot? No, they're going to back away because SK are closing in from the side. There's a grasping root. Stranglethorn's going to come down. That's dodged by the Zhonyas and a flash away there by Charu. And where's the focus? It's all a bit disjointed here from SK Gaming. Another slingshot going to be cancelled there actually by by Kevin, and SK decide not to go through.
Kevin held onto his ultimate during the course of that fight, so that big disruption was not available for them, and it may have been because they want Dragon. They want to be able to contest this one or pick it up themselves. Sonic Wave goes a little wide and flies just to the side of Libic, but this is going to be a 4 versus 4 until Mukata can get here.
So are they going to fight for this one? Candy Panda's got a GA, so he's got that bit more safety about him as well as Cubot missing another Sonic Wive mic. And now they're going to push in. Kevin actually going in for this one. Repel comes down. Kubon actually going down to the bottom side of things. He's going to get chased down. Ocelot and Candy Panda actually getting the final blows on that one to pick up a nice kill. They waited long enough for the team to get back in there, and now they're going to turn for Dragon.
And that was all thanks to Ocelot using his teleport. He respawned in time, joined from the back, and was able to force away Meet Your Makers. Another Dragon secured for SK Gaming and extend their gold lead to 5,000. And the question is now for SK, at what point do they start pushing the inner towers? They've been trying the split push for a while, for about 5 or 6 minutes as they jumped on Makate.
Yeah, he's kind of caught out right now. The death mark going to go down. Q lands from Hercule, but you're not escaping that combo, champions. That'll be another kill. Meanwhile, Charu here caught down the bottom. He gets denied from moving out to the claw. He picks himself up another one. He's now 3-2-8.
Very good play from Candy Panda, following the claw of doom until its destination and waiting there, saying, well, you either sit there and deal with Zach or you come here and deal with me. Either way, you're going down, buddy. And now with the kills they've secured, it's going to be an inner tower in the bottom lane and maybe an inner tower in the mid lane as there's a minion wave pushing right into it.
Bottom lane is for sure now. 3 of them in there. And mid lane, Ocelot and Hercubot, they do a good amount of damage to these turrets right now, down to less than half as a fear comes onto Ocelot, but he won't have too much danger on his hands there with those shadows to play with. And now SK going to be starting to take away buffs, so that leaves Charu out in the cold on that front as well.
And the thing that really strangles MYM's potential and MYM's ability to make picks and get kills secured is the vision and the ability to roam freely. Thanks to SK having such good vision and now control on the MYM side of the map, it means that Makla's going to be less able to stealth up, pick up kills. Charu's going to be less able to teleport behind enemy lines, and even if he does, it's very difficult to kill a Vayne twice, or kill a Zed who's so mobile, or even kill a Zac or a Lee Sin who can just hop, skip, and jump away to safety.
We're approaching a 10,000 gold difference here as well, and Baron starts to be warded up and what have you. I'm not sure that SK are going to risk that kind of play at this point, because we've seen how close, how quickly those gold leads have shrunken so far in this game as well. Although SK, since the last time we saw them not having the best team fights, they've bought a lot of big items coming in there as well. So I think they'll be a little bit more safe, but when you've got this kind of lead, Baron's always one of those difficult decisions, in my opinion.
I want to touch on Baron for a second, because out of all of the teams in Europe, when I think of making mistakes in the Baron pit, SK really comes to mind a lot. From the spring split, from the playoffs in particular, when I think about the games, like, they really were picking the wrong time to try and force Baron engagements. I actually feel like as a team, they have matured enough to understand at what point they can do the Baron pit engages. And you see now, they're warding, they're getting vision of the red buff, and then they're going to pick a fight as Nip has been caught.
Yeah, he's been completely caught from this. So I'm going to put down the Strangle Thorns, which will keep him alive for now. And here comes Candy Panda up to the side. Makata goes straight down. He gets ulted though, but let's not forget the GA, but he's not even had that popped yet. He's used his barrier and he's still managed to survive. There's another condemn. He gets another shield from Lee Sin and he survives through it. There is the Crow Storm. Did pretty much nothing here as he's knocked away. There's the GA of Candy Panda pop. Sonya's was used. Charu's going down. Grasping roots from Nif landed as well. Libic doesn't even bother moving at the end. And that will be an ace for SK Gaming. And they lost a big fat 0 players in that fight. Ocelot wasn't even there.
A perfect team fight from SK Gaming, and Candy Panda just went God mode on that Vayne. Even coming out of the GA, he managed to tumble away the ice shard from Charu, who was sitting waiting for him. SK had the vision control on the red side of the map. They seen MYM coming in, and let's call a spade a spade. Nif got caught, but because SK were poising themselves for Baron, they were able to respond and react in time, and that's what allowed them to pick up all of those kills and Baron Nashor at 32 minutes.
I'm wondering, after 3 games so far and the coordination that we're seeing from SK Gaming, where has this SK Gaming been for the last 9 weeks, or 8 weeks to be fair to them, since we're in week 9 technically here. They look so very good right now. We've just seen masses of money being spent. There's a GA on Ocelot, Phantom Dancer in there for Candy Panda, Randuin's Omen added in for Hercubot. There's it just took a massive dive when it comes to the chances for Meet Your Makers.
Yeah, having this very big gold lead, and more important, the very big item lead, gives you that air of safety, that cushion that you can fall back on. Even if you get caught, even if you pick a bad fight, because you're statistically so far ahead, you have more resistances, you have more HP, and you have more damage, so it's more likely for you to win these team fights. And it's just a matter of time before SK groups up and pushes towers. Charu wants to pick a fight, and I'm not sure this is the smartest decision.
Yeah, who are you going to go for, though? Hercubot is not massively tanky, but he's certainly got enough resistances on him right now to be surviving through that burst that Charu can put down onto him, I think. But we'll have to see about this, because SK are moving up through that middle lane. We'll see if they can get onto that inhib turret. The the Ocelot in particular, had already got down to half.
And well, don't forget, with all the items that Hercubot has actually stacked up, there's a lot of HP built up now. MYM jump in, and Charu's basically dead before the fight started.
Yeah, Charu having to use the ult on himself. Sonya's is going to be used. There's Randu in Zoman pop. Charu's a dead man in here from this one. And this is just going to clean up now from SK Gaming. Repel comes out. That will keep Kubon alive for a little while. But you see Candy Panda just thrashing straight through there, managing to pick up the quadra kill in the end, plus the turret as well.
And that all started from Charu actually throwing himself forward. He threw out the Claw of Doom, was waiting for it to follow up, and Kevin just stood there in his face, spamming his percentage HP damage, dropped his HP so low that Charu became a non-factor in that team fight. SK pick up 2 back-to-back aces in 2 minutes and finish the game. They're 3-0 on the weekend.
3-0. SK Gaming, they had a job to do coming into this weekend, and so far, so good. 3 out of 3. They need that 4-1, but at this stage, I'm wondering who's going to be able to stop them, because they have looked like a completely different team to some of the SK teams that we've seen turn up throughout this split, I have to say.
I have no idea what they've done in these last 2 weeks, but I sincerely hope that whatever magic recipe or magic elixir that they found to perform this well, they keep drinking it, because these games have been superb. Kevin went 3-0-11. He did not die in that game. And Candy Panda was allowed Vayne 9-3-9. Terrifying, terrifying performance.
Yeah, and Kevin, when we're on that topic, he's always Mr. Consistent, isn't he? He's such a steady Eddie in that top lane. He's always performing well. I don't remember the last time when I thought, oh, Kevin, that was a little bit rough. But now the entire team again, another Lee Sin pick coming out of Hercubot, 7-2-14. Still 100% record, 5 wins out of 5 with him now. Why has he not been playing Lee Sin any other time?
I completely agree, and I actually am going to theorize why. Because the rest of the team was not performing on the same page or the same wavelength as him. When you're playing a Lee Sin, you are very mobile. You're in and out. You're creating plays. Yeah. And if you don't have that coordination to say, I need you to be on the other side of the wall so I can safeguard to you, or I'm going to kick this dude in your direction, be ready. Unless you're all on that page, unless you're all thinking in that mindset, it's not going to work. It becomes messy because your kick throws someone wild. Nobody's ready to catch him and stuff like that. So I think as a team, because their communication and their coordination is leveled up, it allows them to play that chaotic champion that's so much more difficult to read.
And I think the prime example of that is the First Blood that was 2 kills up at the top. SK 4 weeks ago might have well lost 2 men trying to do that tower dive, and today they executed it absolutely perfectly. So congratulations to them on another victory. We're going to head over to Demon and Jason to break down the last match.
Thank you very much, Joe. And SK continue their dominance, like you say. That's 3-0 in Super Week. It is going the perfect week for them so far. And really, it all stemmed from the picks and bans.
Yeah, I mean, just what we saw them pick up. They had a lot of comfort champions. Hercubot on Lee Sin for a 3rd time in 2 days. He's pretty much won, well, now every game in a row with that. You had Candy Panda on Zyro, who has a 100% win rate now, 5 games with her. You had Candy Panda on Vayne, and we always talked about for the past couple of weeks his KDA, a 16.4 on her. You let him have a champion like that again, even with the change to her ultimate cooldown, still does work against you.
And we talked about Nif on Zyro. He's not lost yet.
No. He's, 5 games, 100% win ratio on her.
100% win ratio, and I mean, they tried to take away Twitch from Candy Panda because it's been a problem, but we saw it yesterday. You can't ban out Candy Panda right now. He played fantastic on Twitch, fantastic on Ashe, fantastic on Vayne. I mean, where do you go with him?
You don't. You just let him have his champion, I guess. Maybe take away what you don't want to play against, let them have something else like maybe Ashe and then kind of just outplay them a little bit. But, you know, SK, with the way they've been playing these past couple of days, with the aggression they've been putting, they did something very similar as we're talking about against Ultra yesterday, where they ganked the top lane together. This time it was actually a 4-man gank. They took 2 kills, took the turret, and then it seemed like the entirety of SK was like, all right, let's just sit bottom. Let's just gank bottom over and over and over, gain control of that dragon, which we kept talking about yesterday, how important that is to do, and then just pick up all the kills there.
And of course, another quadra kill coming out, this time Candy Panda. So where do we see SK? Do we see them going for the perfect week? They've seemed to be really reacting when the pressure's on them.
That's what I was saying, actually, I think yesterday, is that the newer teams coming in, can they handle the pressure of the wins they have to get? Not just the pressure of the week, but considering playoffs are coming up, World Finals are coming up. SK, I mean, they've proven in the past that they can handle the pressure. Going 3-0 has got to give them a nice start. We always talk about being a momentum team. I think they could do 5-0.
Well, we'll see if they do, of course. We're going to get a word with one of the members of SK themselves. It is going to be Kevin. He's standing by with Shocks.
Thanks very much, D-Man. Kevin, who played Zach this game, and a very good game for you guys once again. So coming into this one, you came off a 2-0 yesterday, and then MYM has nothing to lose here. Did you factor that in your preparation, that they might pull out something really crazy, for instance, or...?
So yeah, we did factor that. We talked around 40 minutes just about MYM, and we were talking about crazy stuff they could do, but at the end we kind of fixed that problem with banning these champions we don't like. So that was kind of it.
And from their side, they banned out Shen, Thresh, and Ocelot's Karthus. So he played Karthus 2 times yesterday. What made you decide to go for a Zed than an Assassin and not an AP mid, for instance? And how did that work in your team?
So right now we are kind of packed about Zed. We love Zed. So, but the main deal with it was that we banned the 3 champions that could kind of fight Zed. So yeah, and the picks he would do, like Lissandra, Orianna, and stuff like that, could be countered by Zed. So we just first picked it, and also is really comfortable right now on him. So we just picked it and played.
Yeah, so as I said, MYM has nothing to lose. So coming into that game, early game was not the easiest, and they had a couple of really good fights as well. So how did you manage to take the upper hand?
It was really early. The early stage was really hard when Nocturne was level 6 and Lissandra was roaming a bit. So the surprise engage was really high. But we managed it with kind of me farming, pure farming, and over-leveling Elise a lot. With, of course, being Vayne fed, and with the counter TP on Zed. So every time Lissandra did a move, we just countered it with our move, and that was kind of it.
All right, so 3-0 right now in the weekend. So yesterday you went 2-0. How do you keep that momentum going when you're obviously on a high when you go 2-0? And is there someone that gives a speech or something, or do you just stay very calm going into the next days, or?
Yeah, so yesterday 2-0 was a great day for us. Today 1-0 right now. We hope for Gambit. We are ready for Gambit. We had great practice for that, and yeah, every one of us is pushing each other. We are kind of all like, oh, let's go today, win, because we want to do the 5-0. We want to beat every team in a row. So from the last week, we would beat every game a different team. So we are really, yeah, just pushed.
All right, well, thank you very much for this interview. 3-0 already for SK Gaming. We're going to see if they can go 5-0. Thank you very much, Kevin. Pass for us, we need a few minutes to respawn, but stick with us. Gambit tries to avenge the beating they took from Evil Geniuses in Week 8 when we come back.